Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to ABA Learning on Demand. The topic for today's IndieCommerce webinar is Getting Your Website Ready for the Holidays. I'm Geeta Nathan, and I will be the moderator. Before we start, I'd like to go over a few items so you are able to participate in today's webinar. You are listening in using your computer's speaker system by default. If you prefer to join over the phone, just select phone call in the audio pane and the dial-in information will be displayed. What you see on the screen is for a sample webinar, actually, so please do not use what is displayed on the screen. And some quick video and audio check. If you can hear me and view my screen, please click on the small hand icon on your GoToWebinar panel. Scott, are you able to see the attendees hitting the icon?
Yes, not everyone has answered, but
Okay, let's give a couple of more seconds. Okay, all participants are in a listen-only mode. If you have any questions during the presentation, you can type them into the questions pane of your control panel. We will address these questions during or after the presentation. There will also be time for a Q&A session for more questions after the presentation. Today's webinar is being recorded. The recording will be posted by early next week on the IndieCommerce Webinar Center on bookweb.org. Now, joining me today to present today's webinar is Scott Nabbs, and Scott will talk about some of the important topics about how to maintain your website, keep it up to date for the holidays. So we'll start with some website housekeeping, basic settings and configurations that you should check to make sure they are accurate, displaying updated and current content for your customers, any holiday specials, promotions, announcements, etc. Then configurations, settings available to make it easy for your customers to place orders on your website. We will go through a checkout process. And finally, tips for handling online orders. So I now hand it over to Scott. If you can just bear with us a couple of seconds while we make the switch. Scott, you're good to go.
all right, okay. So we are going to cover quite a bit of information today. We're going to be talking about getting your site and, frankly, your staff also ready for the holidays. Now, we're going to be covering a few things. We're going to be a little all over the board. I've asked my colleague, Geeta, to just jump in if she notices that I happen to be dropping some particular important point. But I think we'll get through without any real issues. Now,
Scott,
yes?
just hold on 1 second. Okay, it looks like there might be a small audio issue with a couple of participants. Just 1 second.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, everybody's good. Continue.
Okay. All right. So again, as Geeta mentioned, we're going to be going through a few different things. The first thing we're going to start with is a little bit of housekeeping. That is things the store should really be taking care of. Keep in mind, this is information that is pretty crucial to your site any time of the year. But of course, in the next couple of months, it's pretty critical. There are a lot of retail establishments that really base their living or dying on the next couple of months. So these are pretty important. So one of the first things I'm going to start with, I want to ask a question. Actually, we have a couple of poll questions here. And this relates directly to what we're going to be talking about shortly. So hang on just a sec. And I'm going to post a question for you. And let's see. There's going to be a couple of questions here. The first one, how many store staff have access to the store website that is sort of administrative functions and that sort of thing? So if you can just click on there, and once everybody's in. Okay. Okay. Looks like still a few people have not chimed in. All right. Okay. Well, we got some responses here. There we go. So we'll close that up, and let's take a look at the results here. So we have of the attendees here, we have a lot of stores have less than 5 people. A few stores have between 5 and 10, and only a few stores have more than 10. So we're going to let's see, hide that. And I have one more question to ask, and that is related to the first question. Do they all have their own login to the website? Okay. Almost there. All right. I'm going to close the poll and share those results. And we have a lot of stores. We have over half of our attendees here. Say yes, they do have their own login. We have 42% that still say no, they don't have their own login. That means some stores have their employees logging in under the same account. And this is, frankly, it's either going to lead to possible confusion among your staff, and it could possibly lead to some dangerous situations. First of all, keep in mind that as people are working on the site, closing orders, working on orders, things like that, especially with orders, every time a particular account is used to perform a certain function with an order, that user is recorded as having performed that particular function, whether it's completing an order or canceling it or editing it or something like that. If everyone's using the same account, of course, it's all going to look like there's only one person handling everything, and really there's no accountability. So we do recommend that each person have their own login. But I have a really short story here. A couple of years ago, actually a few years ago, one of our stores who had only about 5 employees, and they were all using the same account, they let one of their employees go on a Friday afternoon. And unfortunately, that employee went back home and logged into the site and changed the only password that there was, locked everybody out, and proceeded to do horrible things on the website. And that's the kind of thing we also really want to avoid. This way, if everybody has their own account, if someone leaves the store, someone is no longer in that capacity, you can just take that person's access away, and everyone else is still good to go. So we do highly recommend that everyone have their own account to log into. It's fairly easy to do. All your staff needs to do is visit the website, go to My Account. You should have a My Account link somewhere on the site so your customers can see it. If you don't, you can just go to your own url.com/user, and that'll bring you to a My Account page. From there, you'll see a tab that says Create New Account. You just need your employees, each one of them, to go in, supply an email address, a username, and a password for that account. And once that person has created their account, you can then assign access to their account, basically just by going to Store, Configuration, and Store Roles. And from there, once an account has been set up, all the administrator needs to do is put in the user's email address here and choose a particular role, whether it is store editor, store admin, or order admin. We do have information with links to documentation for all of this. I can tell you really quickly, a store admin has basically the most access to your website, can create other admins and delete other admins. Order admin basically has access only to work on orders, not to content within the site, and the store editor is the opposite. They can work on content, adding, deleting, editing, but they have no access to orders. So again, not everyone has to be a store administrator or an order admin, etc., but it is best that everyone have their own account. All right. Let's keep going through. Now, there are some things in here. I know pages that stores maybe they know they exist, maybe they just haven't visited them in a long time. Sometimes this information gets filled out a long time ago, then staff changes and information doesn't. So I just want to show you a couple of places where information can be updated, and we often find it to be out of date. So first of all, we're going to go to Store, Configuration, and Store. And right off the bat, we have some basic store information: store name, store owner, and an email address. Sometimes this is an info at or orders at, but it can be someone's personal email address. It helps us, ABA and IndieCommerce, to contact the store if we need to. Again, phone number information. Keep in mind, this page actually asks for a help page, and we advocate creating several stock pages: help, access denied, things like that, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But if you've created a help page with helpful information, you can actually just drop the path right in here, and that the system will use that as the default help page. Further down is some other information. Again, this is mostly for better communication between ABA and the store. This is basically a main contact for the website: name, email address, and phone number, and contact for online orders: same name, email address, and phone number. So just again, visit this page, make sure that information is up to date. Occasionally we have to call the store, and a lot of times we hear, "Oh, I don't know who handles orders for our website." So the better information we have, the better our communication is. And we also have a link here for store address. This is probably all correct, but you do want to just make sure that everything in here is the way you want it to be. There are a couple of other places. The next place we're going to go to is Configuration, System, and Site Information. Here again, we have some basic information that the site will use under certain circumstances. So there's a site name that is going to show at the top of your theme if you've chosen a name to actually appear there. There's also a place for a slogan that you can put in. A lot of stores may not be aware that that's there. And again, a default email address. The system will use this on occasion. If a customer creates a new account for themselves, a notification will come from this address. And again, here we have another couple of pages that the system will use by default, and we do advocate creating a generic access denied page and a page not found page. You can actually see these. We go to, I have a couple of default pages here. So for instance, I have a help page with some basic help information on it. And all I've done here is take this path, which is just the word help, and I've added it to the system so it knows where to find my help page. Go back, the same for page not found. Sorry, the page you found. Access denied. We also advocate a returns policy and a privacy policy. These are not necessarily required or asked for by the website, but we think they're really good information. We tend to put them here in what we call the footer block, and we'll talk a little bit more about this, but here you can see privacy policy, returns policy, just links to some helpful pages. Okay, there's one other place where we want to take a look at some information, make sure it is correct. We get calls about this a lot. When a customer places an order through your site, they receive an automatic confirmation email. At the same time, a store also receives a confirmation email. It's a separate email, but same idea. In this case, what we want to do is make sure that those emails are coming from and going to the right places. So in this case, we're going to go to Store, Configuration, Checkout, and Rules. Now I have a lot of rules here. Most stores will only see a couple of rules. That is email customer checkout notification and admin checkout notification. We'll go to the first one, customer email checkout notification. And on this page under Actions, if you click Email and Order Invoice, All I want to point out here is that when your customer places an order, when they receive an email, it will appear to come from this address. So make sure it has an address that you're willing to use for your orders and for your customers. As far as where that email is sent to the customer, that is automatically pulled using what's called a token directly from the order itself. It will automatically mail to that user's email address. So again, you want to make sure that this sender address is correct. Keep in mind that when your customer receives this email, it will actually say do not reply. It will have a do not reply address, but if they hit reply, it will reply back to the underlying address that's here. The other thing, go back a little bit, again, from store configuration, checkout, and rules, we have an admin checkout notification. And here, this is the one we usually get calls about. If we click on this, again, under actions, we say email and order invoice. Again, this email, when it comes to the store, again, this is not meant for your customer. This is an email reminder that comes to the store when an order has been placed. Again, that email will appear to come from a particular address, but more importantly, that email will be sent to whoever is on this recipient's list. So often we'll get a call from a store who says, oh, the owner keeps getting these all the time and they really don't want to get them. I need actually for this email to go to somebody else. Just make sure that each email, each recipient is here listed on their own line, and everyone will get a copy of that email. All right, so that was, again, some basic housekeeping information to help with communications. Of course, yep.
Yeah, a quick question. I just wanted to mention this before we move ahead.
Sure.
Jessica has a question asking if we do have a good example of privacy policy.
Oh, sure. In fact, and keep in mind, this site, this is my test site that I'm using right now. It is videodemo.d7.indiebound.com. So I have some information here. We're going to get this out to the stores, but we have some helpful links under webinar info. But I also have exactly what you're looking for under default pages. So again, in this case, we have a returns policy page. So you can access that information here. You can copy it. You can use it if you want to. It's entirely up to you. Keep in mind, if you're going to create a page like this, obviously, make sure it says exactly what you want it to say to your customers. But here's a basic returns policy page. It may be that other stores have put something together that is a little more comprehensive. Generally, stores who are actually in business tend to have better real-life experience information than we do with our test sites here. But if I go back a little bit to here, we have a privacy policy also. What information do we collect, etc. So again, if you want a quick template, this information will be available at my test site, videodemo.d7.indiebound.com, and you can find those under default pages. Okay, so let's move along. So we've gone through a little bit of housekeeping information, but we have obviously all of this is geared toward your customer. Everything is geared toward the customer, or we wouldn't be here. So now we want to think about a little bit about what your customer sees and what they experience when they come through your site. First of all, basic information, especially as we roll into the holidays. Putting up contact information, there are a lot of times when I go to a store's website and I have no idea where they're located. Even if I just want to give them a call, I'm not even sure what time zone they're in. Keep in mind that when you're online, you're really marketing to everyone. You're not just marketing to the folks who live locally to you. You are now accessible everywhere. So let people know where you are. So in this case, having some information about the store, location, telephone, email address, holiday hours, let everyone know that no one should have to go clicking and looking around for this information. It should be readily available. We have information on creating blocks, for instance, under webinar info. Right here, we have information on creating blocks and editing them and placing them on the site. Okay, now again, when you're, keep in mind, when your customers come to your site, they have, right off the bat, a database of some 9 million titles supplied by Ingram. Your customers, I can tell you right now, are desperate for a filter. They need to know what professional book readers are actually reading. They want to know what's going on. What do you recommend? So this is an excellent place to put up things that are actually for sale. A lot of times when we go to a site, we'll find the store has a large image that just shows, you know, a bookshelf or some generic book image that doesn't really link to anything, and it doesn't really help the customer decide what to do. Keep in mind, this is valuable real estate on your homepage. You really want to make the most of it. So you can see here, in this case, we have some gifts that we're highlighting for our customers. We do have information. If you have custom items, sidelines, event tickets, anything like that, clothing, merchandise, those can be created as saleable items on the site, and then we can present them in something like this, a little grid, or put a page together that has all of that information available. Again, if you have items that other stores don't, by all means, get them up and saleable on the website. Okay. Now we have, again, as I said, basic information. We have up here a contact us form. Now this is sort of built in automatically. If we click contact here, if you just go to your address /contact, you should be able to come up with the contact form here. It is editable. There can be different categories. So if customers are constantly coming to you and asking questions, you can, let's say you have an events department that handles event questions. Then under category, we could have event questions. And as your customer fills this out and they choose a particular subject or a particular category, then that particular email can be directed to the proper person on the staff. So you might have 3 or 4 different categories, and each category goes to a different email address on your staff. Again, great way to keep in touch with your customers, great way to have them get in touch with you. Okay. Now, again, a lot of things, not necessarily all related to each other, except that they're all on the website. We have a lot of things available for sale. You can see just from the blocks in the sidebars, we have the Indie Next list. Whether you know it or not, we also have a bestseller list and a reading group list, as well as a kids list. All of those are available as blocks that can be placed on your site, dropped into the sidebar, dropped into your footer, anything like that. Again, anything that highlights books and items that are for sale. Let's see. Well, we have, here, I want to mention this since I'm moving along this way. If you see a red message center link up at the top here, it means there's a message that you have not looked at. In this case, the most recent message that we have pertains to the holiday catalogs. All of the regional bookseller associations have all supplied us with their regional holiday catalog, and we've made all of those available. So for all of them, if you're looking for NEBA, all of them, all the way down the list here. If yours, for instance, here in the New Atlantic, you can just grab this address, holiday/NEBA, or if you want your customers to be able to see what it is, holiday NEBA/holiday catalog. Just copy that, and you can create a link on your site pretty much anywhere and make those available to your customer. So obviously,
I just want to point out that all the regions are available except PNBA, which should be available early next week.
Yes. I'm sorry, I was getting ahead of myself. So we have almost all of them, but we do expect all of them by next week. Okay, and here I just have a little link up here, but this can be a much larger link, you know, like our gift cards over here. Again, another item. If you have them available, if you are selling them, definitely put them up where your customers can see them. In this case, it's just a link, an image that goes to my page where they can fill out the information and purchase one of these. Again, stores may not know this, but we also have something called an online-only gift code. These lack a physical component. They are, when a purchaser buys one, the recipient gets an email with the code in it. And as long as they come back to your site, they can drop that code into a field during the checkout process. And because it is internal to the system will understand the balance on that gift code. It will prompt the customer for further payment if it doesn't cover the balance of their order. So they're really great. There is no transactional fee. For instance, GiveX cards will have a transactional fee if you're putting money onto them or taking money off of them. These are, again, are entirely internal to your site. There are no transactional fees. You can create these out of whole cloth. You can give them away to your customers if you want to. By the way, you can get your customers a little more involved with your site by having a thing like a sweepstakes or a raffle or any kind of giveaway where you're giving away, again, a $10 gift code that doesn't really cost you much except the cost of goods on a book. For instance, you may ask your customers, you may solicit from them book reviews. If a customer submits a book review to you, perhaps that customer wins a copy of the book that they've reviewed, or they win a gift code. But the point is, if you put their review up on your site, there's a good chance that they're going to share that page on your site with everyone in their Facebook, all of their Facebook friends. And that's free advertising for you. That's advertising you don't have to do. They are going to actually go out actively marketing your site for you. So again, things like that, getting your customer involved with your site, these are really great ways to increase visibility. Okay, let's see. Oh, coupons. If you are not aware, coupons are available through the site. We have extensive information on creating coupons. I have a link here. There we go, for coupons. Again, this is our help center. There's great information here about creating coupons and making them available. If there's a particular use case that you're looking for and you're not sure how to do it, give us a call here. Stores have set up lots of different creative coupons for their customers. You let us know what you're looking for and we can give you a hand with that. Okay. Let's see. Let's go back to our front page. Again, all of this is geared to making, to putting information in front of your customers that is actionable and saleable. We have another thing that we recently developed, it wasn't very long ago, which is basically a very simple way for a store to put a list of books on their homepage. You don't have to call them new this week. Frankly, these books aren't very new anymore. This is a few months old. Although I'm pretty sure the classics are still classic. But you can change these titles easily. There's a page that has a list of these ISBNs, and if I change those ISBNs, these cover images will change here on my homepage. And if I want to change the title, I can just go into the block itself and change the title of this block. So again, a really simple way of taking maybe your weekly bestsellers, your staff picks, monthly reading group books, anything that happens to catch your eye. Holiday books, cookbooks, anything like that. You can now set these up very easily. Again, we're not going to go into exactly how to do that. We do have extensive information. If you're interested in the front page book lists, just let us know and we'll give you some information on those. I'm going to step out of my site briefly for just a bit because I want to come here. We've just been here a couple of seconds ago, but I want to remind stores, if you go to bookweb.org, if you go to IndieCommerce and Help Center, you will arrive at this page. Every one of these headers has great information under it: creating content, processing orders, site administration. There's a ton of information in here. If you haven't looked through here already, I can guarantee you are missing a lot of information. Okay, let's come back. Again, let's just take a quick look. I just want to show you yes?
Scott, do you just want to show or talk about the wish list and also the ABC catalog?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Well, the catalogs in general, again, we have the holiday catalogs here. We have, in this case, I'm using the NEBA catalog. But we also have the American Booksellers for Children holiday catalog. Let's see. Oh, now look at that. Looks like I might have gotten that link wrong. Let us know. We do have a link for this, and I seem to have gotten the link incorrect on my site here. Let us know if you're interested in displaying the children's holiday catalog, the ABC catalog. Again, let us know. It's a simple link, which I seem to have messed up here, but we'll get that correct information for you. You can post it anywhere on your site. It can be a link in your menu. It can be, again, a link with an image that is a link that goes to that page. All of that is available. By the way, the holiday catalog, no, I'm getting those wrong. Let's go here. I'll give you an idea, by the way, what this looks like. This is just one of the holiday catalogs. This happens to be the New England Independent Booksellers Association catalog. Again, each region has their own catalog that they've put together, and we've uploaded here into the site. So again, if you check your message center, you'll see the link that you need to use for that particular catalog.
And also, what's neat about those catalogs is if a customer links on the link for the catalog and they end up on the catalog page, Scott, are you able to go back to that catalog page?
Sure.
If a customer chooses the buy this book option on the catalog, it'll bring them back to your website to that product page, which means the sale will happen on your website.
There we go. All right. And as Geeta mentioned, we also have wish lists. I'm going to show you something very quick. I hope it's very quick. If you do a search on your own site, and when you look at the search results, if you're not seeing add to wish list, let us know. This is a standard. All of your customers should have this ability to drop things into a wish list. So again, if you're not seeing that wish list button, let us know. We'll turn the module on. There really isn't anything for the store to do. Wish lists are designed to be created by that particular user, maintained by that user, shared by that user with their friends. Again, there's really nothing that the store needs to do for that. The wish list is a great idea. I recommend if you haven't built one for your own account, go ahead and do it. Drop some books into it. You'll see it's a pretty nifty feature. It'll let you know when a book has been purchased. It comes off of your wish list. The wish list itself can have an expiration date. It's no good after a particular date. Again, if you're not seeing that add to wish list, let us know. And related to that, I also have a block here for wish list, so people can search for a wish list. Now, again, as I said, when a user creates a wish list, they generally share it with their friends. But let's say somebody sent you a link to the wish list on this site, and you lost that link. You don't know where it is. You can actually search for a wish list just by looking, using the email address of the person who created it, or keyword, or et cetera, like that. You can also look for a full list of wish lists. All right. So again, wish lists, really great idea. They just kind of handle themselves. All right. Let's see. Some items. Okay. There is something called now. Once we get into things like custom items, T-shirts, and whatnot, keep in mind when you're selling something like a T-shirt is likely to have attributes, that is different sizes and different colors. Size and color would be attributes. Small, medium, large would be the different options under them. It is possible we have something called conditional attributes. You can think about this a little bit. Let's say I have a T-shirt in black, it only comes in one size, but if you choose red, it actually comes in a number of sizes. So once your customer chooses red off of their options, then they'll see another list of options where they can actually choose a size or something like that. This can be used for book memberships and things like that here, in fact. We have a Book of the Month program that our friends in Northshire are using. Basically, it's an item that they've created that will ask for a lot of information. As the buyer walks down through here, they'll put in the recipient's name, their shipping address, all this information, their birthday. So the store is trying to get a lot of information about that recipient, and then they're going to send them, based on this information, a book every month. So it's kind of a nifty thing. There are a lot of things that you can do with custom products. So again, if you have items that are available only in your store, you really should have them up available for sale. And if you're not sure how to do that, let us know. We'll give you a hand with that. Okay, so again, keep in mind, what we're really asking the store to do is to visit your own site as if you were a customer. And a lot of stores may not have done that. They may be looking at their site only as the store and not as the customer would going through the whole experience. So keep in mind, the more things that are available for your customer to do, to look at, to click on, to purchase, the better off you're all going to be. Okay, now the next thing that I want to point out. No, let's go back. Let's go down to the bottom of the page here. As I mentioned before, we recommend creating a footer block, just something at the bottom of the page, so that when customers get all the way down past whatever it is that you have, you don't just let them slide off the bottom of the page. Other links down here. I love this one. Don't leave before checking out our complete calendar of events. Being a test store, I don't have many events at the moment, but again, having a link back to your event calendar is a great idea. I'm going to point out another store here. This is just, you'll notice this is just an image. It's not a link. It's not anything that they've really created on their site. It's just an image that tells you that they're having a holiday open house on this particular weekend. In fact, they're having one today on November 9th. And again, these aren't links. They don't go anywhere. It's just information that they're letting their customers know. They may have created it as an event on their calendar, but if it's an event on their calendar, it's sort of buried, and their customers may not see it automatically. So again, if you're doing something really cool with your at your site, by all means, get that information up there. For instance, here's a store that has both Bill McKibben and the other guy, Jeff Kinney, both come in to this store. That's great information. So this is information right here that your customers can see. It means something to them. It's something that's actually going on. The same store has also created some really nice graphics. Holiday picks for adults, holiday picks for kids. There's nothing really special about these other than the images themselves. But if I click on this, for instance, cookbooks, and go to the page, it's just a standard page of book list for customers to walk through and decide what they want. Again, the more of a filter you are for your customers, the better off they are. Okay. Now, we want to talk a little bit about your customer's experience as they start to walk through the checkout process. So I actually have another question. I'm going to post a question if you guys could all take a look. And that is, have you placed or tested an order on your website as a customer? I'm encouraged by these numbers.
They are indeed high. Yeah.
Now you see what a cynic I am. I expected those numbers to be a lot different. There's one, I think maybe one of there. No, maybe one person who hasn't responded yet. Well, I think we'll. There we go. Now we got 100%. So we're going to close the poll, and we're going to share those results. Excellent. That is way better than I thought. I had a store on the phone maybe about a year ago or so, and as we were talking about her customer's experience through her site, I said, well, here's what I would recommend, that you actually place an order through your site and see what your experience is. And the bookseller said to me, okay, how do I do that? How do I do that? I almost dropped the phone. That's not the right answer. If you haven't placed an order through your site, we highly recommend that you do this. This is the experience that you are offering to your customers, and if you haven't walked through it, you can't really know what it is. Your customers will often have questions about how to place an order. What does this information mean? How do I edit my account? Can I store my credit card information? Anything like that. If you haven't placed an order with a live credit card to see how it all works out, again, we recommend that you do this because your customers are all doing it. And if there's anything that's going to get in their way as they're walking through checkout, you want to find that first. So again, if you haven't done it, we strongly recommend that you do, just so you've gone through the experience. I tell stores routinely, place an order, log into your own account, look at your billing page. Again, if your customers ever have questions about that, they're going to come to you and they're going to expect you to know at least a little bit about what to do and what those answers are. Okay, so we're going to hide those results. So now we're actually going to talk a little bit about the checkout process. So again, this is almost essential. If you haven't placed an order, you're going to want to do this and see what the checkout process is like, if there's anything getting in the way. But we have a couple of things here, again, on the back end that we can take a look at to make sure that the experience is as good as it can be for your customers. First of all, one of the things that we advocate is that when your customer finally gets to their cart, that they, let's see here, that they don't have a lot of conflicting information vying for their attention. So in fact, in here, I actually meant to remove these two blocks, but I haven't done that. You see that all of my blocks from the right sidebar have all disappeared, because once my customer gets to the shopping cart and they start to walk through their checkout, I don't want them to be distracted by anything. I don't want them getting halfway through checkout and then clicking on an interesting link and going away and again, maybe getting in the way of their own checkout. Maybe they're not going to come back. Maybe they forgot that they were placing an order. That's the kind of thing we want to avoid. If they're on their way to the checkout, let's let them get through the checkout without distracting them. So again, just making sure that blocks are not visible on a particular page. So for instance, I have this block right here. Here's what I'm going to do. I'll show you this very quickly. If I go to configure the block itself, down here it says show on all pages except those. So we'll do that. And now that the IndieNext list block has disappeared, and I can do that for these two blocks as well. I'm not going to waste your time with that. You get the idea. But again, the idea is that as your customer goes through checkout, they don't have a lot of information to get in their way. Now, something else that I'm showing you here is this really cool feature that we unrolled it was about a year ago, I guess. Is the checkout stepper. Customers, as they're going through the checkout process, they sometimes lose track of where they are. Or they don't realize that they haven't actually finished the checkout process. And that, of course, would wind up as an order that is stuck in checkout. We've all seen those. So there's a really great feature called the checkout stepper that reminds your customer where they are in the checkout process. Now, I'll show you this. I'm not going to go into this in great detail, but if you go to Store, Configuration, Checkout, and Checkout Stepper, you can find the controls for this particular thing. It's just a block. You just place it somewhere high up near the top of the site. I'm not sure where this, I think I put it in my header section or my help section. And what the controls will allow you to control the text that is here and the color, and also the background color for each of these little buttons. So again, as your customer walks through, they'll see their progress through the checkout process. Now, another thing that you can take a look at, we go to Store, Configuration, and Checkout. We're just going to take a look at the checkout panes. These are the panes that your customer sees as they go through the checkout process. Now, if you are offering tax exemption to your customers. You deal with a lot of teachers and they're always putting in their tax exempt information, and you can make this field available for them. They can skip over it if they don't have any tax exempt information, so it's not going to really get in anybody's way. But a lot of stores, they don't really handle that sort of thing, and they will turn that field off. One thing I want to point out on this page, these panes are in a very particular order, and if you move them around, there's a good chance you're going to mess up the checkout process, and the customer is going to get stuck because they can't move any further. The thing to keep in mind is that often here, one of your customer's actions will trigger the next action. And again, if these panes are in the wrong order, the customer may not get successfully through the checkout. So be very careful. If you're looking to add something, if you have any questions about this, let us know. But generally, these panes are set up in such a way that your customer can get all the way through. Okay, so let's see. Oh, there's another thing at the very bottom here, is collapsing panes. Now this is interesting, and you may want to try it out on your site and make sure it looks good. The idea here, let's go back to the cart. And again, as your customer walks through the checkout page, we have here what are called collapsing panes with a next button. So your customer sees only one bit of information at a time. What we've seen in the past is when your customer could see the entire checkout page and every pane that was available, they would sometimes skip around. Let's fill out this one, then I'm going to come up here and change my mind about my delivery, and I'm going to come back down here. And sometimes, again, when they do things out of order, it gets them stuck in checkout and the order can't move through. So again, this is the idea here, is that your customer sees the pane that they need to deal with at the moment, and then when they're finished with it, they click next and they go to the next one. So here I'd like to pick up my order at the store, go on to the next one. In this case, do you have a gift card? Payment method, in this case, I'll pay it at the store. So again, the collapsed panes is a great idea. It keeps your customer on track and focused, again, as they walk through the checkout process. Again, as I said, you want to take a look at it. We'll go to store again, configuration, and checkout. You can see use collapsing panes, checkout panes with next button, and then collapse the pane after its next button is clicked. And those are really great. Keep in mind, you may want to try this if it's not already turned on for your particular theme. You may want to give it a shot. Some themes may look a little wonky as you're clicking those next buttons. Make sure it looks okay and it isn't confusing to your customers. Okay, a few other things. Let's go to let's go to shipping. So we're going to go to store, configuration, and shipping quotes. We're going to click here. Keep in mind, first of all, if you have any ideas, interesting ideas, creative ideas for holiday shipping, free shipping for orders over a certain dollar amount, cheap shipping available all the time, that sort of thing. Anything like that. If you can think of it, you want to offer it, let us know, and we can help you out with that. In most cases, it is possible to set something like that up. Discounted ground, which is free shipping for orders that are over a certain dollar amount, whether it's $25 or $50 or $100, what have you. Again, if you have an idea like that, there have been lots of creative shipping ideas. Bicycle delivery service within a certain zip code, things like that. If you can think of it, you can probably come up with a way to do it. Okay. Now, for something like this, we have in-store pickup. Let's go up to our settings. Keep in mind there is a default pickup address. You may want to put that information in here. I haven't done this for my test site. We usually fill this in automatically for stores when we build the store, but you want to make sure that that information is correct. If you have a particular shipping person, you might want to put their name in there. Okay. The shipping quote pane description. As customers walk through the checkout process and they see shipping quotes are generated automatically, you can give them whatever information you want. You can shorten this to say, please click the button below to get updated shipping rates. As the customer adjusts their delivery address, the shipping rate may change. So you may want to, they need to know to click on that button. All right, let's go back to our
Scott,
shipping
regarding
quotes.
the shipping quote description, could you show where that message actually shows up during checkout?
Oh, yeah. Let's go to... Let's see.
Yeah, you'll have to ship the book, not store.
Right there.
And what Scott is doing right now, this is a perfect example of why the panes should be in a certain order, because the pickup option should always be above the delivery. So because when someone chooses pickup, then the delivery information is hidden.
Okay, so here when you get to calculate shipping costs, it says here shipping quotes are generated automatically when you enter your address. Again, this is an old message on my test site. The one that we generally put on a new store is a little shorter than this. It just says, please click the button below to get updated shipping rates. So that's where it appears in the calculate shipping cost pane. Is that what you were looking for?
Yeah, that's exactly
Okay.
what it is.
Okay. All right, so let's go back a little bit. I just want to go to our shipping quotes again. For in-store pickup, if you're offering in-store pickup, when we go into configure, you can actually put a message here for store pickup. Again, we put a default message in for stores. It's something like, please wait for us to contact you before coming to the store. But that's exactly the kind of thing. If your customer is arranging to pick up in the store, this is a message that they'll see when they make that choice. That lets them know, don't just come running right down to the store. Whatever language you feel is appropriate there. Okay, let's see. I want to take a look again. As I mentioned this before, going through checkout and placing an order. And I also mentioned going into your own account to see what it is that's available that your customers have available. Keep in mind, in this case, I can edit my own account where I can change my email address, I can change my username and password and things like that. In this case, probably the best page to visit here is the billing page. So I actually have a credit card profile stored here, and your customers can do that if they want to, and they can use that credit card information on the orders, future orders that they place. Again, you should go through your account as if you were a customer, because if your customers are looking to do any of this, they're going to want to know from you how it actually gets done. Okay. Let's see. So again, this is all about making sure that checkout is ready for your customers, so no one gets stopped as they walk through. Okay, and then finally, we're going to talk about order processing. So we're going to now. Everyone here has been taking care of orders for a long time. We're not going to go into any great detail, but we do want to mention a few things that again, we hear a lot about. Stores give us a call and not really sure what's going on with this or that. Let's see. First of all, while we already looked at how to make sure emails are getting to you and to the right person on staff whenever an order is placed, I cannot count how many times I have said, do not rely on receiving an email to know if you have a new order. You really want to come to this page at least once or twice a day. This page by default will try and show you all of your active orders, anything that is currently open, pending processing, payment received, anything that hasn't been closed out or canceled yet. Let's see. Our system sends those confirmation emails out all the time, but we cannot guarantee that you're going to get your copy, that's going to show up in time, or that it won't get eaten by a spam filter. So again, really the best practice is to show up here every day. Now, another question that we often get, let's see, so I don't really have anybody here with a credit card order. That's okay. I want to mention a little bit about credit card orders. So when a customer places an order with a credit card, one of the things that we hear is the store comes back to fill that order, and it's maybe a month later. The customer placed their order in September. It is now late October, and I can't process this order. Maybe you've seen this. You try to mark the order as payment received, and the admin comments tell you that the transaction cannot be found. What's going on here is that when a customer places an order through your site with a credit card, their credit card is pre-authorized for about 30 days. Within that 30 days, you can act on that credit card information. You can reauthorize it if necessary. But at the end of that 30 days, if nothing has happened with that particular credit card information, that pre-authorization expires, and you really can no longer move forward on that particular order. So our best course of action for credit card orders is that you mark those orders as payment received as soon as you can. Now, again, as I said, when a customer's card is pre-authorized, you have about 30 days to act on it. But let's consider that your customer places their order, and 10 minutes later, their wallet is stolen. So 15 minutes later, they're canceling all of their credit card accounts. I can tell you right now that if you try and go back to their order and mark it as payment received, it's not going to work. If the underlying credit card account isn't there, you're not going to be able to do anything with it. Now, when a customer places an order, you generally feel comfortable waiting a couple of days or a week or so. You're probably not going to run into any issues. But certainly if there's an order, let's say a pre-order for a book that doesn't come out for 2 months, this is exactly the kind of thing that if you left it sitting for too long, you wouldn't be able to act on it. But certainly leaving an open credit card order for a couple of months, there's a really good chance that when you get back to that order, that the underlying credit card account is either expired or has been canceled by the customer. So again, whenever you're dealing with a credit card order, we advocate processing that order, collecting that payment sooner rather than later. If you mark an order as payment received and then it turns out a few weeks later you can't get that book, you can still cancel that order and get that money back to the cardholder. ABA will always give you a hand if you find that there's any difficulty in doing that. We'll make sure that your customer is refunded. But it is essential that the store collect those funds so that they have them and they are able to move forward on that particular order.
Scott, if you need a sample order on your test site, you can look at 364.
There we go. So let's go. Yes, here we go. So now the other thing I wanted to point out here, this is an order that was placed. Now, when you're dealing with credit card orders online, a lot of times you'll look at the order, you'll grab the item, you'll box it up, send it out, and then the store comes back here and they try to change this to, for instance, let's change this to payment received, and we're going to click update. And a lot of times you see this at the top, it says order updated, but you also see in this case there's an error message that says transaction cannot be found. Sometimes a store will see this and they'll say, oh, we're all done, that's it, that's all I need to do. Then they come, but if you look down here, you'll see the order hasn't really updated. And now there's an error message here telling me that the transaction cannot be found. This is because this order is extremely old. It's well over a year old, year and a half old. And that's why it's failing here. But this is exactly what you'll see. When that pre-authorization on the credit card has expired, this transaction cannot be found. So keep in mind, when you're adjusting these orders, when you're changing the order status, it is not good enough to simply look at the message up at the top here. Make sure that the status is actually changed. Make sure there is no additional message here. If there is, it's trying to tell you something. Okay.
And on this page, Scott, do you just want to go over the fraudulent orders? I think this order has a warning message.
Absolutely. So, Now, ABA uses the most stringent fraud protection filters available through Authorize.net. However, regardless of this, ABA still finds a fair number of fraudulent orders coming through the site, all of our sites, I should say. The issue is that if a perpetrator has all the victim's information, they can place an order that looks like it's coming from that card holder. Authorize.net will be fooled, and ABA will send the order on to the store to fill. So we've arranged for our system to trigger a warning if any order has a different ship to and bill to address. If these two addresses don't match, it will generate this warning at the top. It doesn't mean that the order is fraudulent, but it is tripping the one flag that we find every fraudulent order to have. Now, obviously, if I send a book to my mom, it's going to have the different shipping and billing addresses. And certainly, hopefully, through the month of December, you'll see a lot of these orders coming through. But if you see this warning box, we're asking you to take a closer look at the order itself. There is a link here for common signs of fraud. It takes you to a page over on bookweb.org, what to look for and what to do if you think you have one of these orders on your hands. But I can tell you right now, we're looking for addresses that have nothing at all to do with your home state. We're looking for addresses that are widely removed from each other geographically. We're looking for, in this case, sometimes customers will include a phone number. If the area code doesn't match where the order is shipping to or where it's billed from, that might be a warning sign. We also, when we put this warning message up, we try to grab an IP address, and you can do a simple Google lookup for IP address location. So if you find yourself with a ship to in Arizona and a bill to in Alaska, and your store is somewhere in Iowa, and you have an IP address from the Philippines, you're probably looking at a fraudulent order. Again, if you think you have a fraudulent order on your hands, give us a call. What we found last year, last holiday season, is that where one store found a particular order that looked fishy, when we looked for that user across the system, we found a lot of orders at different stores by that same user. So not only were we able to stop the one store from filling the order, but we were able to alert the other half a dozen stores not to fill it. In this way, we managed to quash maybe 200 of these fraudulent orders last year. Okay, let's see. Orders, yes. Oh, what you can do if you're not sure what to do with an order like this, if you think it might be fraudulent, you can actually mark the order as payment received. That is going to charge the customer's card. If you then let the order sit for a few weeks, maybe enough time for the actual card holder to get a printed statement in the mail, maybe they'll notice that this charge is on there and they'll contact you and say, hey, that's not mine. And then you can cancel the order, and the money goes back to the cardholder's account. So again, there are ways that we can do this, but let us know. Again, sometimes together we can come up with better information. Okay, let's see.
Scott, while we're talking about credit cards, for stores that use ABA's Authorize.net, do we get calls from customers who are confused about who charged their card?
Occasionally we do. If you're using ABA's Authorize.net account, your customer will see on their statement, it will just say an independent bookstore. So sometimes customers are confused. They don't remember that they actually went to your store. They expected to see your store's name, and now they're a little confused. So sometimes they'll call us and let us know. Keep in mind, stores can have their own Authorize.net account. It gives them more control. Keep in mind right now, while we run our money management once every 2 weeks, by the way, we will be running money management through the next 2 months. We'll be running it every Friday with a couple of exceptions right around the holidays. But this way, stores don't have to wait more than a week to get the money that they're building up. But again, if you have your own Authorize.net account, money is processed daily rather than weekly or bi-weekly. Your customers will see the actual store name, so it'll be less confusing for them. And again, you'll have more control over what you can do. Right now, stores, if they want to perform a refund, if they want to do a refund for a customer, they generally call us and we run the refund from here. But if you have your own Authorize.net account, again, that gives you access, control over running those refunds yourself. Okay, Now I see we're right at the top of the hour, and I think, Geetha, remind me, am I missing something egregious?
No, I think we covered um, everything that we had on our list, except like there are some tips that we noticed. Actually, we have this habit of looking at all our websites at random whenever we are bored, and we pick up some good points here and there. We see some stores who are offering a lot of memberships towards the holidays, membership as gifts, so that's a good idea. And shipping offers, if you have special shipping, to put it up right big and bold on the homepage. Um, and also stores that are participating in the Small Business Saturday. I was just looking at a few sites that the stores that are participating in Small Business Saturday, but I couldn't find information on their website about it. And I think that is good information that you can post on your website on the homepage. It is available on the events page, but it's kind of hidden in the calendar. It's always good to have those on the homepage. And also, there was another store that is working with a nonprofit organization for some. They split the on a part 2 days around the holidays. All the sales that they do, they are splitting it with a nonprofit. So something like that, posting it on your homepage, it'll attract a lot of customers. And I think there was also another store that has a holiday book drive, and they did have it on their homepage. It's good to know what's going on at the stores in our community and around the country. And if you're working with schools, I know some schools have gift fairs right before the holidays. And I think at least one store we saw, they had a link to a local school that was running a book fair. And so the store is working with the school. So yeah, it's basic. Yeah, otherwise, I think, Scott, I think you covered everything that would help the stores prepare, yes, for the holidays.
All right, all right. In my mind, some of the most important parts of this are the staff and getting the staff ready, making sure everybody understands the website. You'd be surprised how many times we call a store and ask to speak to the person in charge of the website, only to hear, we have a website? I'm really hoping that's nobody on here right now. But, you know, again, your entire staff should be familiar with the website, even if they don't generally work with it. Your customers don't know who to ask. They're going to ask anybody on your staff what's going on with this. So the more you're familiar with that, the better off you are. And as Geetha says, one of the things I didn't mention, events. If you have an event, you have something really cool coming up, let people know. Put it on the front page. Don't just bury it on your calendar. Consider that if you have a really cool author coming and you put their name on your front page, search engines can find that. So if somebody's looking for their favorite author, they see that they're signing at your store, again, that person may share that information with their Facebook friends, and again, do some advertising for you.
Scott, we do have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Sally wants to know if it is possible for the store staff to see all the customer wish lists. Sally, yes, you can. As a store staff, you can see all the wish lists that were created on your website. Customers cannot see it. Like as a customer, if I go to your website and search for a particular wish list, if there is a match, I would see it. If not, I won't. But as a store staff, you can see, like there is, I think where Scott has on the page, there is the link that says a list of all available wish lists. Yeah, that should bring you a whole list of all the wish lists. Yeah, that's how it shows up.
You can see, by the way, what I did here is I created this link, search for a wish list. The address of that is .com/wishlist/search, and that will pull you. So if you want to create a link to this page for your customers, or even I've seen stores do it just for their own administrators, so that they have access to go search for wish lists.
And Scott, regarding the regarding the IP lookup, I know some of our members may not be familiar with how to look up an IP to find the location. Can you just grab an IP and then show them how to look it up?
Sure. What was that? What was that order number?
364.
364. Okay, so we have an IP address here. And now I have this, I have it bookmarked in another browser, but let's just take a look here. I'll just do IP lookup. IP lookup, here's one. Let's go in here, we're going to paste an IP address here, look up the IP address, and look at that, it's right where we are. Turns out that wasn't a fraudulent order. So again, you don't have to, I have a specific site, I don't even know what it's called, that's bookmarked that I go to all the time, but if you don't have one, just search for IP lookup, you'll find one of these. Okay. All right. Are any other questions on or off topic?
No, I think we got them all. Since we answered some of the questions during the presentation.
Okay.
I think that's it. So thank you, Scott. That was a wonderful presentation.
No problem. Glad to help.
Yeah, and thank you everyone for attending the webinar. And as I said, this webinar is being recorded and we will post it on the Webinar Center early next week. And there will also be a follow-up email with links to all the help documents on all the topics that was discussed today during the webinar. And on behalf of the entire IndieCommerce team, thank you for joining us today and have a great rest of your day.